Go Mecca, go Mecca, go, 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 go Mecca, go Mecca, go. Let's go, everybody. You gonna get that crowd, the folks over there, the beautiful people in the back?
I'm gonna get them for sure, for sure. How you doing, my brother? Good. Did I get you guys ready? All right. Come around. Individualize it. How you doing? Good. How's everything? How's everything? Yes. Appreciate you.
All right, back to the floor. See what's right. I'll sit over here. I swear.
Make sure these things are off.
Oh yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome with a round of applause our guest speaker for today, Mecca Grimmo, Marcelin.
You guys, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Mecca, tell the people about who you are, what brings you. Usually I end this question with, what would making moves in Miami mean to you? But I'll start with you. What does making moves in Miami mean to you? Because you've been, tell us, how does that apply to who you are, and sort of a little brief tale of, how you serve in making moves in Miami and beyond.
All right, so how you doing? My name is Mecca Grimmo Marcelin. I moved to Florida from New York when I was 15 in '85, so I'm already telling you my age. So in '85, maybe before some people were born, you know what I mean? I was 15 years old and I moved to Miami. Culture shock coming from New York and coming out here. But I played ball up there, so I got into play ball with my high school, and finding myself all over again at 15. When you're planted and you go into your teenage years while you're in New York, you got it figured out by then.
You think
well, you think you do, yeah, about which way you want to go in life. But I had to press the restart button coming out here. Miami was nothing like it is now in '85. This was the retirement home for elders. Straight up, really. Like, this was not the place to come to, even though we had the palm trees and everything. When I came, I hated it. It was too hot. But then as I stayed here and met an acquaintance, she became my companion, then I started to appreciate, where I was at, the diversity, the weather, the palm trees. We talk about going on vacation. We live in, in an area, geographical area, which is like where I go on vacation. And so I started to appreciate my surroundings more. I was into music in New York at a very early age. I know you guys hear about that hip hop started in New York and all of that. I was 8 years old when I was exposed to hip hop in 78, 79. I think that's when Rapper's Delight came out. How many of y'all know Rapper's Delight? Classic. Nobody knows Rapper's Delight? Yeah. I said a hip hop, a hip it to the hip it, a hip hip, a hop, you don't stop, don't, yeah. So that song came out in like 78, 79. It was the first like rap record on the radio, so you could imagine how us as youth felt. From that time on, I was just, fully engaged. I became a lyricist at that time, writing poetry, didn't know it was poetry. Actually, I wasn't telling people I wrote poetry because poetry was for girls, so I was doing spoken word, you know what I mean? And then I came out here and just kind of adapted and just started to just pursue what I felt that my passion was, which was music at that time, so music I started to make music for commercials, started to make music for businesses, besides making music for myself. And I don't know if you want me to I'll talk
and as Mecca was talking about sort of his bio and sort of literally making a move from Brooklyn, New York. I need to give you some water. I should give you my drink. Hold on, give me 1 second. I have a drink. You're sweating, so
I got you. But that was the bridge coming over here. It's a big campus. You get your exercise and your steps.
But so Mecca was talking about, again, literally making a move from Brooklyn, New York to here and to Miami, and he had something that was planted in him with hip hop music and things like that. And then from there, you spoke about how you found a way to have hip hop sort of live in you, and then connecting with different people in different places. And music moved you music moved you so much so that you started doing music and poetry for others. So how has that then evolved to sort of where you are today, as an actor, as a community activist, and all those things?
Yeah, I guess at a certain point in my life, I started to bless you. At a certain point in my life, I started to realize that we were too much of consumers and not enough being producers. You know, so instead of just buying records and taking it on and just making records, or I felt like creating and promoting my own or whatever for the community. But I felt like my purpose at that time was to educate. Really, the bottom line was to educate in whatever fashion, even if it was through music, even if it was through acting, even if it was through, you know, whatever. I modeled a little bit also. So whatever it was, I felt like there was an educational component that was still tied to that. And as I got older and as I matured, I felt like the grassroots community, you know, movement, activism movement was something that was that I needed to be a part of. You know, it became part of my purpose in life. You know, some people never really realize what their purpose is going through life. And I think some of that, I mean, I don't think there's a timeline for it, but when you do find it and pursue it, it's a beautiful thing, you know?
I'm talking about a beautiful thing. All of us, you know, we talked about passion earlier today, right? Some of us don't know how to find our passion or know where that passion is. Earlier you said you were passionate about music, but then you said purpose.
Right.
How did you transform passion to purpose, and where has that taken you?
How did I transform passion to purpose? I took what I loved and couldn't let mom down. My parents are still alive, God bless. I know that I'm blessed. But my mom and dad were always a big influence on me. Things that I said or I did in music or on the outside, the community is very small. And so it would get back to people that knew my mom and things like that. And so I think I was real careful about my approach, you know, like in music. And so I felt like, again, the educational component, you walk a line when you talking about education and you speaking or you doing music. You can't do music one way and you talking about education. So it has to balance out. It has to be very real in what you projecting out to the people, you know, or as they're gonna call you a hypocrite. Like, how you talking about education, how you a teacher, but you are doing this and this doesn't make sense. Yeah, you're doing it for money, but at the end goal, the money is not as important as what you're ingraining in people's minds that are gonna be with them for a very long time. You know, so so I felt like I took the responsibility. I think it was a responsible act that I took, and I was like, look, I can't represent this anymore. This is really what I'm gonna do. There's gonna be less money, there's gonna be less opportunities, but this is where my passion, you can't lie about your passion and your love for the community or community engagement or activism on a community level.
And talking about opportunities, right? The next chapter, we didn't go over this chapter today, maybe we may do it later on in the day or next week. The chapter is about creating opportunities, right? So how, because it's scary. Well, we don't know what to do, we don't know, we're often asking people to give us a chance to do something. How do you then, with the skills and the passion and the community that you have, how have you been able to create? I'll open it up for you. How have you been able to create?
It's a trick bottle, guys.
That is a trick bottle.
Aha, see? I'm not, you got this on camera, all right? You gotta rip it off, no problem, for sure.
No worries.
Yes.
How have you been able to create opportunities for yourself, not just driven by money, but driven by purpose?
Yeah, listen, it's definitely not easy. If I had to do it again, I definitely would do it because I'm standing in front of you. I'm not a platinum artist like I wanted to be. I didn't make a whole bunch of money that, you know, I could say that I had cars and I bought houses. I was signed to Luke Records. I toured with Pitbull, opened up for H-Town, had an opportunity to sign to Wyclef's label as well. People hear about the opportunities and like, yo, the artist is the big artist, but when you attach yourself, if you're not as big as that, you're not making the money that they're making. But the opportunity is there and it's a beautiful thing. One of the things that I had to do, which was very, very painful at the time, but I understood the growth process. The sacrifices are gonna be crazy. I worked at UPS for 18 years, and people said, you're gonna leave UPS, which you got health insurance, got stocks. You've been making $27 an hour. You're gonna leave that to go do music? My parents were bugging out. You understand? My wife at that time was bugging out because she didn't meet me, like she met me, I was already working at, I wasn't already working there, but as I got the job, it seemed like the family, I got to drive for UPS, and so I was making good money. Now I'm reverting back to like, I don't wanna do this. I wanna go on the road. I wanna do music. And everybody's like, what? But I wasn't listening to everybody, I was listening to me. Schools were calling me to speak, just like how I am right now. Till this very day, again, I'm not a platinum artist, but opportunities are like in abundance. Today, I told my school, I'm a teacher, I teach. Took off from my school to come here. I needed to be that flexible. I can't tell you like, no, I don't wanna come here today because I had to work. I hated that. I hated that a lot. I worked at UPS. Is not a job that you could be like, I'm not coming today. Those 300 boxes, you'll find somebody else to go ahead and deliver that. So it's not a job that you could just really take off. You gotta give advance notice. It didn't work for me. So I really left like UPS. I really left UPS of 18 years and really started to pursue and be consistent with my passion and my mission for wanting to be in the industry. Of course, I had to take a couple of turns. And it was painful. From that, I'm telling you, I was not working at a job, not making that same payola that I was making. So you could imagine cars that needed car notes, houses but luckily, I did 5 years pre-planning in advance. So that car note was like very minimal. I didn't pay off the house, but I got to wind up getting divorced because when you go into money and financial situations in a relationship, it really puts a strain on the relationship. And so without a doubt came, a divorce situation. And the reason why I said I would do it all over again is because at the end of the day, your peace of mind is really what counts, And so I am, at the time it was rocky with the ex-wife going through that situation, but like we're the best of friends right now, and we raised like 2 beautiful kids, and that's why I say I would do it again, because even though we went through that patch and people might hear like after the divorce it's crazy afterwards. You did go through like 1 or 2 years, but I think people's nature allows them to kind of really iron. She's a person with a good nature, and we just kind of ironed it out. We was like, yo, it definitely is, the kids are what's important. And so even though we kind of went our separate ways, but there were a lot of other sacrifices as well. There was no money sometimes, and so I came from making $27. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is the sacrifices were very big, but you find your place. Somebody told me, he was like, listen, when you quit your job, your day job, you'll find your real job. And
say that one more time.
When you quit your day job is when you find your real job, which is really handling yourself, your business, If you were tired of waking up for somebody else at 8 o'clock in the morning, you're not gonna be tired to wake up for yourself at 6:30 in the morning. Now you're taking care of your business. And so I started to understand, started to really implement a lot of things that were lacking even, before that. The sacrifices were endless. I think that that's a big part of it. You gotta let go of certain things. Saying them in the front part, I'm not telling you guys to leave your job because the timing for everybody is different. And it wasn't even, if somebody told me about timing, the timing wasn't even right in my eyes, you understand? It's what happened 10, 15 years later of me still pursuing what I left the job for, and so, yeah.
And so that sounds a little bit like a lot to me, like conviction. Like when you're, and it's not just a job, so let's exchange that word job to calling, right? How many of us have heard the term calling? Raise your hand, you've heard the term calling.
For sure.
So for those of us that raise our hand calling, what does that mean? What does calling mean to you? A talent, right? So let's add to that. Who else raised their hand with calling?
The purpose, what you have to do in life.
And the purpose that you have to do in life. What does that calling do? Like, break down the word. It calls you, right? Like 3 o'clock in the morning. How many of us have woken up 3 o'clock in the morning because something was on our mind, right? I think all of us have, right? And when that thing calls you, what do you do when that thing calls you, man?
You either ignore it or you respond to it. So I mean, it's just like a call, you know. Like it's you basically called to serve a purpose, and things are not by accident. You know, you have a talent, and you're called with that talent to serve that purpose. Without that skill set, you probably wouldn't fit that purpose. But somehow, you connect your talent with that purpose, and you're able to facilitate, you know, flying through life with pursuing, you know, something that you love to do, and also making a difference. That's a big thing for me, making a difference in communities. And so I lodged myself, I could have lodged myself anywhere. Instead of going to the, to clubs, you know, to do like, let me, one quick situation, I'll tell you how I got into activism. A lady by the name of Marcelin, she's a commissioner now in District 2, I believe. But she did a lot of protest and activism. I was like a rapper dude in Little Haiti, jumping around, like doing, you know, whatever I needed to do, like performing, whatever. We performed at the club, and she calls me and she says, like, I want you 7 o'clock in the morning, hold this banner up. It was like for TPS, you know, immigration. Even 15, 20 years ago, we still were dealing with immigration issues. And so she asked me to hold this TPS banner up, and I just got out the club like 4 o'clock in the morning, you know? And so I was like, so I showed up because I told her I would show up. I'm still a man of my word. I was tired, I was out of it. I held up the banner. We walk in the sun, 2-3 hours, whatever it is. Later on that afternoon, I'm all over the news. I'm like, yo, this is better promo than, you know what I mean, like the club or whatever. I'm on the news. Everybody's calling me, telling me they saw me on the news, you know, like TPS, what is that? I didn't even know what it was at the time. I just, you know, holding the banner. And
You answered the call.
I answered the call. And I found myself lodged in this thing called activism, community engagement, grassroots movement. And people were acknowledging me. And I had to do like homework and research to catch up on what this lady was doing, what kind of impact she was having in the community. And voila, I think after that, I fully became engulfed and said, it was so gratifying. It was better than performing and having everybody, you know, clap at the club or, you know, bottles up or whatever it was. I did that, and people were really like, yo, can you speak at my next engagement? Can you show up? Holding the Haitian flag at my disengagement. And so I just kind of became fully engaged in, like, I didn't know that there was a void. That's what it was. So for me being there, I realized that there was a void of artists who had a voice, artists that were doing work in the community, but not in the right, in the right tiers, you know. And so I started to ask other artists, like, yo, we need to stand up for this. We need to speak out. Like, who are you, Venezuelan? Word? You Nicaraguan? Honduras? Like, yo, we all, like, together, like, it affects us all. So I was getting Nicaraguan rappers, Dominican rappers, like, we were all coming together now and really cradling and making a difference in our communities and supporting each other too.
You're making an impact. You answered the call. And one of the things too, we're young, right? A lot younger than both of us here on the stage. And you're thinking to yourself, man, I think I have all the time in the world to do and answer that call. I see, Rithik says no. He's nodding his head no, we don't have all the time in the world. How many of us think that we have? Raise our hand and say, oh, I got all the time in the world to. So some of us still. So, Mecca and I had a conversation last night. If he's open to it, to share that conversation about we don't all have that time in the world. And so for us to answer that call, we should do it now.
Yeah.
We'll share that story.
So real quick, when I was working at UPS, I trained a driver that just came from, I think he just came from Haiti at that time. He was probably here a couple of years, but he was fresh and I was already there a couple of years. I trained him, we became buddies. He knew how to speak Kreyol because he was directly from Haiti. I'm like Haitian American here, so what do I really know besides what I'm hearing my parents speak? And then so he was correcting me a lot too, like, hey, you said that word wrong, you pronounced that wrong, you're Haitian American, go back. And so he would send me back to the studio and fix the stuff. So we became, he cared about, like what it sounded like. You can't put that out like that if you represent us.
Authenticity.
And so, so he sent me back to the studio to re-record it. And I would pay for studio to re-record like 2 words that were like mispronounced. But if I was going to represent the culture, I had to do that. go back in the studio and fix that. You gotta fix it. And so this past January 10th, I communicated with him, said Happy New Year, like I do, you know, some of my close friends. And on January 11th, he passed away. He responded back to me. So January 10th, hey, what's up? Happy New Year, my brother, whatever. What you been up to? Boom, he responded back. I'm like, indeed, more life, more love, God bless, we gotta get together. The next day, I see something on Facebook, and I'm like, yo, people are jokesters. These memes are not cool at all. How do I just text you the day before, and then I see a picture somebody putting up, oh, my friend, sorry for your look that. So that was a real, I mean, I've had those similar situations in the past, because even me, I'm not supposed to be here right now. Hip hop saved my life. You know, music really saved my life, writing and being in tune with, you know, bars and learning music and really being in the studio and learning, you know, my craft. But yeah, we don't have tomorrow, if I can just say that. We don't have tomorrow, just like my brother Sharon didn't have tomorrow. We said peace to each other thinking we had tomorrow, like, yo, we gotta connect. He got into DJing, into music. He said I influenced him. I'm like, yo, we need to do something over some instrumentals and stuff like that. Like, how cool would that be? We worked at UPS. Now we're about to do a little video of you DJing for me. Like, nobody would even know, you know? And yo, that never came to fruition. The next day, and I tell the same, my kids came over yesterday. I'm trying to plan, I do group travel destinations as well. I got my hands in a couple of things. Multiple streams of income, please.
I'll change that. It's avenues of revenue.
Oh, okay.
Because what happens? What is a stream? Stream's like little drip, 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 drip. You want it to be an avenue,
Okay.
full block of income.
Multiple tsunamis of income.
Yeah.
If the stream means the drop, and you want to kick it like that, then let's call it a tsunami.
Tsunami, yes.
Multiple tsunamis of income.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, whatever you can get your hands on, as long as it doesn't tire you out and stress you out, because then now you're disadvantaging, you know what I mean, yourself, and you're doing a disservice to your nervous system, your stress, your anxiety levels, and all of that. As long as you can kind of guide through it. I'm a handyman, I'm a host, I'm an actor, I'm a poet, I'm a teacher. I'm the program director for my nonprofit.
You have a nonprofit, see?
Children's Hope Chest of Dreams. Again, children's, that time that I held that banner, that made all the difference in the world. First it was the activism, and then it went to like the youth are really the ones that, you know, because people that are older in age are already kind of set in their ways. They can hear the thing, but they're already like set in their ways. If I ask you all to eat a little healthier, you know what I mean, you already, it's so hard like with the stuff that's out there. You gotta eat when you can, and some stuff is not available. But yeah, it was, I mean, the sacrifices are like, you know, endless, but you know.
And so as you're talking about sacrifices, and as you talk about the different things that you're a part of, right? You have you're multi-talented, multi-tiered, right? Where's my, you get it, but it's okay. But if you all don't mind, let's see, if you can pull out a phone, there's a quote that says, "Jack of all trades, master of none." That is not the full quote, by the way.
Oh, it's not?
No, it's not.
Well, I mean, I can kind of, when you finish with that, I do want to say something about that.
Yeah, great. Somebody please, let's see, yes, you have it, so read that out loud. What is that quote, the full quote?
So it says, Jack of all trades, master of none. Jack of all trades, master of none, though often better than a master of one.
Oh, I never heard that.
Yeah. So when oftentimes we think about, say that one more time, repeat it really loud.
Jack of all trades, master of none, Jack of all trades, master of none, though often better than a master of one.
Yeah. So oftentimes some of us think about, oh my goodness, I like everything. I could do everything. I want to do everything. That's sort of what the calling is, that you can still do everything. Yes, focus on the one skill, that core, that purpose that drives you, but you could be a host, you could be a teacher, you could be a professor, you could do all these things led by impact, right? Let's break that down, and then we may have something for you at the very end. We have a little gift for you at the end.
Oh, I appreciate you. I thought this was the gift. I really appreciate seeing the faces, you know, like the bright faces, you know. I teach elementary, so I'm in kindergarten. So it's still a beautiful thing. My beard is like this because my kids like, no, you gotta do this. You gotta Pirates of the Caribbean. And so I'm like, it's been like this 4 years now. You know what I mean? Kids come in and twist on it. But what were you saying again? I kind of got
About the jack of all trades.
Yeah, I do want to say that going through my life and being the age that I am right now, I feel that I love everything that I do, but I do feel like doing all of those different things, it was a slower approach to all of the goals and all of the different things that I'm doing. If I'm doing the handyman stuff, I want to get it to the point where people are calling me and I'm busy. I want to host all the events in Little Haiti and anything having to do with, anything in the Haitian, market and stuff like that. And so I felt like some things that if I just did that and sharpened my skills in that, like acting, I could have been maybe at a casting in Cali, but maybe I chose to put a laminate floor. Not that I chose, but I didn't go to the casting. I was putting a laminate floor in. Or I was hosting an event and I could have been in the studio with an artist, or something like that. And so I think that if you hone in on certain crafts, there's certain opportunities that you don't miss, but I still love my life, you know what I mean? I wouldn't do it, if I were to do it again, the only thing that I would do is maybe pick one of those things and prioritize. You become more responsible and more alert, so I would just prioritize, what I'm doing. If it's acting was my main thing, and I'm lying, I did prioritize music, and that's why all those things happened. But if I would have stayed with just music, maybe other things would have, kind of came about. But I love the journey though.
The journey, it's all about that journey. So we have one more journey, and we'll ask Mia to come on the front and present you something, Mia.
So Mecca, this is a certificate of appreciation.
Wow, we didn't hold up. I thought that was yours. I saw it on your desk too. I saw it was yours. Oh man, stop playing. Official. What is appreciation for what?
So as it reads.
I'm talking on.
So Mia will read it. Mia will read it as it reads.
Yeah,
Mia's gonna read it out loud. Ready?
As mayor and on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners and the residents of Miami-Dade County, I take great pleasure in presenting this certificate of appreciation to you in recognition of your valuable contributions to our community.
Oh man.
Round of applause. Round of applause. This is the Making Moves in Miami, Florida International Honors College, recognition. So.
Oh, bless up. Thank you so much. We don't do this for accolades. You know what I mean? We coast through life, again, pursuing our passion and kind of like, trying to reach that peace of mind. And it's always great to be, appreciated by your peers. You yourself put it, and then everybody else that really participated. Thank you for listening to my story. Like, who am I really? But thank you for listening to a piece of my story. When he told me, he was like, yeah, you're gonna share. I was like, they don't wanna hear that. But I guess the underlying thing of the Making Moves in Miami, I have been in Miami for a lot of years, a long time, different areas, North Miami, Little Haiti, even went down to Kendall, was in Kendall in Southwest for a while, and know all of the grassroots, like the rappers, the hip hop artists, musicians, for a long time. Some of them are not around anymore, and some of them are thriving right now. And so the fabric of what makes Miami, at least on certain levels, I feel like I was involved in a lot of the beginning processes, that has made Miami what it is now.
And so before the class that we have Making Moves in Miami existed, he was planting that seed. So him planting that seed allowed me to grow into the space that I am in.
Sound like an old farmer.
But that
before the cut, he was planting the seed.
He was planting the seed, right? And that seed is then now planted to you all to take it to the next step and move it forward. So let's bring the chair back. And we got 12:04, we got a few minutes, 10-15 minutes. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts, feedback from Mecca Grimmo Master?
Please, yes.
So basically you were saying about it's important to, what I understood more about than making money is to kind of leave a legacy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you still gotta make a living for yourself.
Exactly.
You know, like, I went through a path where I lived and learned, you understand? Like, I would do it again, but I think I would try to, if my relationship, if my marriage died just because of financial, not because we couldn't get along, if two people can't coexist anymore, okay, but because of money, two people have to part, that's something that I would try to, you know what I mean? Like, try to support your family, try to really, not live above your means, but, yeah, I wouldn't say excessively, but that's the only, leaving a legacy is important as well, but,
My question was going to be, so at what point do you think like, okay, I've done like enough, or you felt like I've done enough for myself, money, and now I'm going to start giving back to the community and not be a consumer,
yeah,
Just be a consumer.
that happened. I didn't do it. It wasn't intentional. Like I told you, when I held the banner up and then saw myself on Miami Herald in the neighborhood section, and I'm like in the front, like half asleep, but I'm there. I got my T-shirt, my company logo is shining, and I'm like, oh man, the power of. And at that time, I still was superficial because I'm thinking of promo. I'm thinking of like, yo, if I show up to these things, people are gonna see me. But as I started to engage with people individually and started to surround myself, like these were real people with real issues, real community issues that were very similar to mine. And we started to connect, and then people started to hold each other accountable. Like, you coming next week? You come next week too? Like, okay, okay, street cleanup, blah, 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 we gotta show up. You get the broom, I get the rake, and so we started to do a lot of things in the community where we held each other accountable. And, I hope, did I answer your question? Leaving a legacy is important for sure.
But like, when do you know, like, okay, like you said, like, money's done, like, I made my money, I don't want to consume, like, be a consumer, more like.
Right, I think it's a balance. You still gotta live and go through life. I don't wanna say money's not important. I think money is important. If you can't pay your gas to get here, if you can't eat, if you can't pay your rent, like, I think money is important. Leaving a legacy is important too. If you can find that balance in finding what you love and fitting in, lodging yourself in a position that you want to wake up and go to work every morning, and you're making a difference in people's lives, if that's your calling, if that's your passion, if that's your calling, your purpose, then just try to balance it out. I don't want to make anybody believe that money's not important.
You definitely want to balance it out, because my compensation for as a professor at both institutions, FIU and NBC, it's not pretty, but it's okay, because what happens is I get 6 weeks off in the summer. That 6 weeks off in the summer allows me time with my children.
Right.
I'm a filmmaker. I can produce more income or avenues of revenue. It gives me that freedom we talked about earlier. So to sort of answer that question, how do you know, stop chasing money and start chasing time? That's money will come when you prioritize your time. Understand you need to have the finances to at least, pay the bills and things like that.
Right.
And if you have that, then live within your means, but now pursue something that's going to outlive you, right? Because I still make money from the selling the books that I released when people thought I was crazy in 2006, 2008. I still get royalty checks from Amazon. Little streams of income.
Yeah. That's streams.
Those are streams, because then it's not, it's like $5, $10. But if I actually wanted to pursue them and push them even harder, it would be avenues of revenue. I have multiple books.
Yeah.
He has multiple albums. He does multiple things. And so, but those things that he does is because he loves them. And people pay him for it because he loves it. He stopped chasing the money, he stopped chasing purpose, and everything started flowing. It's not easy, but they start, I don't know if that's
there's when I started really looking at my life, I started like, what is it that somebody's not doing?
Yeah.
Like, where is the void that nobody's dressing up in a Haitian hero costume and going to do poetry at the schools. And the teachers are like, this guy knows how to, like, there's no cursing, you gotta know where you at. So I kind of carefully planned out my life, even though the money wasn't there at first. But then once it really started, like, this guy, I really went to go order a costume from LA that looked like a Haitian general costume. Everybody thought, like, my brother was like, you're gonna put that on, it's not Halloween. I'm like, how dare you disrespect the culture? I just ordered like one of our first heroes, you know, like that represented, you know, that gave us our independence. I'm gonna put on this costume, and I have poetry that is parallel to the representation of that. And I'm going to the schools to give these kids imagery, sound, quality, message, knowledge of self. And so, you know, give them a bit of culture. And so teachers appreciated it until this very day. I'm like, you know, the month of May is crazy, the month of February for Black History. So they call me back. I'm a 5,000 role model also with Congresswoman Frederica Wilson. So we go into the schools and we take, you know, young boys on field trips to try to curb, you know, what's happening with, you know,
Gun violence.
young males, violence in the community. And so I'm a 5,000 role model as well.
And so it's a hard, you never know at a specific point when that happens. But as you keep pursuing it, those opportunities will come. Like, trust me, trust Mecca. Because Mecca last year, I had him busy. You know, I'm making him even more busy. Because he performed this at FIU North Campus, right? This was during Black History Month. Then Haitian Heritage Month, it was at MDC, right? And there was compensation with that, but it wasn't for the compensation, but it was there, right? And then I'm gonna put him on the budget for the film that we're doing. Let's go.
Clap it up for that. I've done films with no budget, so when I hear budget, it's a beautiful thing, you know what I mean? For sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Rithik.
That was long response. I like that. We unraveled that, you know. Yeah, that was good stuff.
So, my name's Robert. I'm also from New York. I grew up in the Bronx. And I know you said you got into hip hop at a young age.
Yes.
I'm wondering, as you developed, like, as like an adult and got more into hip hop, did you find yourself struggling with like where you would, I know a big part of hip hop is like representing where you came from. So would you say that you kind of struggled with whether you represented New York or Florida? Like, what was that experience like for you?
When I first came down, a lot of parents were coming down with kids that had no say-so, so I couldn't like stay up there when my parents came in. So I met some other New Yorkers, so there was a support system, and we did say we were still from New York. You know, we still had the Timberlands in 100-degree weather, you know what I mean? The baggy jeans, still with the Scully in 90-degree. I'm walking from my house, people looking at me like, yo, you don't live here, right? Like, nah, I moved here, but like, this is not the clothes. You better go switch up. So, but we did have a support system. There were guys that came from New York, guys in New York, like, yo, you from up top? You from New York? Like, yeah, okay, like, we gotta stick together. But after that, it kind of got a little old, and you gotta, it ain't where you from, it's where you at, like Rocky would say, you know? So once you start planting your feet, and it's like all of that, I'm from there, I'm from there, but like, you're here though. You know, do you know that street that's there? Do you know how to get over here? What you gonna do when you, and so that mentality started to kind of like, yo, listen, it's, I'm from there, and I know New York was looked upon as like the Mecca of a lot of things, you know, music, jazz, whatever, because you know, up north were more progressive states than the South was. And so people, you know, kind of praised New York or praised us when we came down here, looking at my Timbs like I never saw that color before. But then it got old after a while, and it became about where you're at, your surroundings, your immediate surroundings, and what you know, and what you represent within, you know, like your, you know, with your peers and stuff like that.
Got it.
Yes.
I recall you said that you were first composing when you were young, about to whatever, but I don't know if you didn't like it or something, but you mentioned like you were composing for you, but for other ones.
So
I just wanted to know, because I'm a kind of a musician too. You're a composer.
you are a musician.
Yeah.
You're not kind of. You're a musician, my brother. Can you say that for me?
I'm a musician.
Yeah, that's what you are.
There you go.
Talk to me.
So then, since I struggle sometimes because before I played in a conservatory and they led me to play pieces that I didn't like to play. So I don't know if in your life how you struggle with that. Since for me at least my style's like rock or sometimes like, you know, I don't know if you have heard John Mayer, but maybe that type of style of musician. And then I sometimes have to play some reggaeton for the people of my country that they like that, but I didn't like that and I wasn't happy playing that.
Right.
So I don't know if you find a balance between that or you just enjoy composing every type of music.
I do like all kinds of music. I do have a specific that I take on myself. Let me tell you what's crazy. And you talking about composing. I don't compose anymore. I was playing the organ and the piano at a very young age. And if you know anything about the organ, you gotta plug it in. The piano, you don't have to, but we had an organ and you had to plug it in. Once it broke, then I strayed away from playing and became more of an orator, vocalist, and lyricist. So just to answer your question, as far as I was playing, like I was, like self-trained, because my father played the organ, so he taught me how to play the organ. But once the electricity broke and they just left it in the living room, they didn't see the value in fixing it or getting something else because they saw their young son, these two people just coming from another country trying to adapt to this New York life, which is different from where they come from in the Caribbean. So I don't think they're thinking about, and the furthest thing on their mind is, we want our son to play piano, or we want us, that wasn't the mentality. Now, if your child has a talent that you see, whether it's playing with toothpicks and he can build a skyscraper, we take that and try to sharpen, hey, that's amazing, but back in the days, if a child had a talent, if it wasn't school, core subjects, if you weren't being a scientist, an astronomer, lawyer, doctor, anything like that, then you were just playing with your life. So me playing on a little instrument thing was like play for my parents.
Sebastian, I'm gonna interrupt Mecca because he said compose. Mecca is still a composer.
Yes,
He's a composer of words.
When you with the teacher, yeah, you gotta watch out.
Yeah, he's a composer of words. His poetry,
Yes.
right?
I got you.
You have to now say, I am
a composer.
There you go, right? I am a composer. You compose. You take these words and you created poetry. You created spoken word. You created rap music. You are still composing. So now let's talk about how did you take the stuff that you composed versus hip hop music had talked in a certain lane, but you composed things now that was core to you, and I think that's the question he's asking. How did you find a way to compose something that was core to you versus what was popular or what was given to you?
Again, the passion. Again, the underlying. What do you want to do with this piece, or what do you want to do with the representation? Because this represents you. Yeah. And so there were some things that I didn't want to be a representation of myself. If I wrote for somebody, I wouldn't have a problem with whatever it is because they were gonna say it. So I've written for a couple of artists before, that stuff that I wouldn't say myself, but that because they were gonna say it, I didn't have a problem doing it. But if it was something that I was gonna say, if it was something maybe in a negative light, or then I wouldn't have maybe necessarily have outputted it like that. But I felt what was in my heart. I went with my passion again, and I know we're speaking about it a lot, which was educating culture. I dove into culture a lot too. I started to realize that culture was identity. And when people are strong in identity, they do well for themselves. You know where you're from, whatever it might be, those things, anything that's attached to culture, tradition, heritage, values, So once I dove into culture, it just created another layer of things that I wanted to do. And I want to say something too, pertaining to kind of like what you were saying. A lot of the things that I do besides the handyman, I would say the handyman stuff is the only thing that doesn't kind of overlap in all of the different things. Everything that I kind of do kind of overlaps or can overlap. I do music, but I'm also an actor. So when I'm doing the films, I'm like, yo, I got music for the same film that I'm in. You understand? So a lot of things kind of like overlap each other. We doing the premiere, I can host that. You know what I mean? So a lot of things kind of fit together, and I found out, as being involved in those different sections, I found out that this and this can go together easy. This and this can go together easy.
Plug in.
When I'm doing my poetry, like my nonprofit, this is the perfect time to promote cultural workshops that are gonna be here on Saturday. Bring your kids to the workshops. We're doing painting with the purpose. We're doing, we're writing poetry, different things.
And Sebastian, for you, I get what you're saying. And this will be an avenue of revenue, coming back to that. Because even if you don't want to write it and sell it.
You can do that too.
Write it and say, hey, this is good. I'm coming to you for next soon. You could say, hey, I know how you feel because I grew up playing the piano, trained classical piano player. I played for my church for many years. I didn't like to play all that music. I wanted to do it for myself. And so I eventually had to compose in a different way. I went into poetry because of some tragedy and then did those things. So I understand that struggle, that you want to find your voice. You want to do something like John Mayer, but you're not John Mayer, you're Sebastian. You're going to write what you write, influenced by all those things. So don't be afraid, and I don't encourage you to take that struggle and transform it to something of significance and say, hey, I'm gonna write something for the reggaeton artist. I'm gonna write something for this, and find a way to, get the deposits to then finance what you wanna do. I wouldn't discourage you from going in those lanes, but serve that community where, like Mecca serves that community, and then leverage that for you to sort of go to where you wanna be.
You produce?
No, like I just mostly perform since 9 years old.
Okay, perform. You sing?
Yeah, I sing songs,
Okay, got you.
but I
Okay.
mostly play the guitar too.
You play the
And
guitar
bass,
also?
The drums too.
Yeah, if anybody plays an instrument, yeah, I encourage you to like another language and an instrument is something that I think in life will benefit people, you know what I mean? Like if you can hone in on your craft, that right there, you can play for weddings. You can, there's that tsunami income thing, like if I played the guitar, that'd be a whole nother, there's people that hire you for, if you go on these websites now, they're hiring people like, yo, you can play for weddings, you can play for baby showers, you can play
Bar mitzvahs.
and make bread,
I used to charge $100 a song when playing the piano, and I was maybe 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
And then what happened was,
What happened?
growing up in the church. I had a friend of mine. His mom passed away, and unfortunately, she was a pillar of our community. He used to read. He used to play by ear, and I was envious. I was like, "Oh man, I want to learn how to play like him. I'm so envious." Right? But then I didn't see what a gift I already had. I taught myself how to read music at 7 because of, again, more tragedy. I learned, and then I had piano lessons until I was 12. The people that were hiring for weddings needed someone to read music. I read music like I read words. That's my gift. That's one of my gifts. Leverage that. Like you said,
Yeah.
$100 a song. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? And I played like 4 or 5 songs at one wedding. I was a kid.
Yeah.
So why was I envious of someone else's skill when I already had it? And that was like back in 1990 something.
Right. Putting it into practice, yeah.
But yes, Renee, for the last question, and we should take a group picture and do that crazy video we did last time.
Okay.
If you don't have any more questions, yes.
My question is, you were saying that like you worked for UPS for various years and were making 27, had a wife, and everything good, and then you wanted to leave and focus on music, and your wife wasn't happy with it, your parents weren't happy with it, and like your parents are like the only people like in the world like want the best for you, they wouldn't just shut the door on you.
Right.
And your wife is your, like you were saying, it's your companion then, and she also wants the best for you and for the family that you're gonna have with her. So like, it's not like your friends that you're thinking, oh, I'll go against, maybe prove them wrong, or like people that you don't like, I'll prove them wrong. It's like you're going against like the
Yeah, your
closest
right.
core people.
Yeah.
So you must have a lot of belief in that you're going to make it, because you gotta go against them. And so like, how did you have that belief? Like, it's very, very hard.
My notoriety was already building working at UPS. Like I probably used up all of my days that I could use to be in certain areas, but I was already kind of climbing the ladder, as you would say, working at UPS. So I felt like this last thing now, it's not that I just said, I'm just gonna stop working at UPS because I held on to the job. 18 years I was there. So the whole time I was doing music. If you understand that I've been doing music since New York, when I came here and got hired in 87, I was doing music even before I got hired at UPS. So I was passing out CDs from my truck, and flyers. I had flyers and CDs on the UPS truck. Shh, don't tell them, they can't do nothing to me right now. But I was hustling on the truck, like still, so it just came a time where you felt like, that time where you feel like you need, like I can't go anymore. Like my whole community knows me. Now I need to go outside of Miami. Now I need to go to, Chicago is calling me now, because they heard what I'm doing in Miami. But I can't go to Chicago because of, and I think that's where that point where I felt like I had hit a brick wall. And then I was hearing Steve Harvey say, like, listen, like, if you never, like, walk off, you never know you could fly.
You saw the skydiving thing I did last week, right?
Yeah, so it, you know, that was in my head at that time. Steve Harvey came out with a little video, and he was doing a motivational speech, and he was talking about, you know, just taking that step off the cliff, not physically, you know what I mean? But like, if you never know. If you don't let go, you never know. And that's where I was starting with the quote. When the work is done, when your job is done, the real work begins, so to speak, you know? And so I stepped off the cliff, and I went all the way down, and I was like, damn, made the wrong decision. But right when I was ready to hit the floor, I caught a little wind. I said, oh, snap, yo. Then I just started to like, you know, just started to like exercise my wings. The wings got stronger a little bit, and I didn't soar. I'm not like, again, I'm not sitting in front of you telling you that I'm like the Lil Wayne or, you know, Jay-Z or whatever, but I'm able to soar and support myself, my family now that I've talked about not supporting. Now I'm making decent money and doing what I love. So it took years. It's almost like you want to be here, you dropped it here, but then you got to build it back up. But not from what you were doing before, from your own, implement your own. Now you got to be your own person.
Your own trailblazer.
So it's like, I feel like now I'm where I was with UPS and then some, but not working for them necessarily, kind of like working for me. Even as a teacher, I feel like I got into teaching because there was a void of fathers and males in the homes, and the kids would express this to me, you know, especially some of the young boys. And so a teacher told me, I went to a school and there were no males at the school. The principal was a female. And all power to the females, by the way. Women rule the world. You know what I mean? Yeah. But there were just no male role models for the males that were there as well, and even for the women. Women need, you know, males, you know, role models as well, you know, mentors in their life as well. And so a teacher told me, he said, we have no males here. If you could just stay, you know, for one more month. And I said, a month? I was like, wow. I was like, yo, I could do more than that. I said, I could do this little, because I was on the road with Wyclef at that time. And when I would come home, the next time we were going on the road was like the next 3 months. So I was like, what do I do besides go to the studio to, you know, create? Yes. But I was like, I want to do something else. Like, I got to find something different to do. My 4th grade teacher that was in New York, I bumped into her at the School Board of Education in Miami, and she knew what I was doing. I explained to her what I was doing. She said substitute teaching at this time would be great for you. You can go once a year and stay eligible. So if you need to go on the road, whatever, if you need to come back, just you're in the database, they'll call you, and you can make your $100 a day. You know, just be a substitute teacher until you find out which direction and things you want to go to. So I'm a behavioral tech now. I'm in Margate. You know, I'm at Margate Elementary right now. I'm a behavioral tech, do RBT work. And I work with Autism Cluster, which I never thought from the time that I got involved in teaching that I would be involved with dealing with children with autism, which is a great need. Again, there's no male figures and representation in dealing with children with autism at the school, and so kind of fit in there, and so, you know.
So one last thing, we have like 2 minutes before class is done, so quick, 30 seconds, what do you say to our students, and we'll take a group picture and do a quick group video.
I would say what we've been saying all along, and pursue your passion, be real, be realistic with yourself, pursue your passion. There will be some sacrifices, there's ups and downs in life, period. But I say if you really believe in something, put a plan together. You know, it's a different day from when I did it. But just put a plan together and pursue that plan, like, for real. And make sure it's like something that's realistic. Don't just say I want to be a Hollywood actor.
And don't take acting classes.
Yeah, exactly. And don't be, exactly. So, you know, sat in a lot of, training classes and stuff like that. And and just be the best, try to be the best at whatever it is that you can do. All those different little things that, man, I try to perfect what it is. I still have to rehearse my poetry, I'm in the mirror with the acting thing, I still haven't made myself cry yet though.
We're gonna work on that.
I can't, we gotta work on that. So, yeah, I gotta make myself cry. But, you know, just in the mirror, just like, you know, like trying to hone your craft. You're trying to be the best that you can be. And just, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause.